against a surprising target, power substations. 2022 marked a decade-long high of attacks at U.S. power stations with nearly 120 attacks across the country.
A Department of Energy document obtained exclusively by News Nation outlines 6 never-before-reported intrusions at power substations in the state of Florida.
Thousands of people are still without power today after what authorities are calling an intentional attack on a power system in North Carolina.
Turning now to a shooting near Duke Energy facility in South Carolina. It comes just days after attack on 2 Duke Energy substations in North Carolina.
I'm here on Highway 93, just west of I-15, where a man broke into the solar fields and set his car on fire.
One of the 4 Washington substations targeted was set on fire last night. This all happened near Tacoma, just south of Seattle. An estimated 17,000 customers left in the dark there.
At least 5 power substations were reportedly attacked in Oregon and Washington last month.
There's a lot of variety in these attacks, from locations to methods, and no one group has claimed responsibility for these. That makes it hard for law enforcement to draw a definitive link between various attacks on power stations. But there are some common threads worth looking at. First, motivations. According to law enforcement, many perpetrators are hoping to create chaos and panic, and they often share ultra-nationalist or white power ideologies. Now, to be clear, not every attack on a substation has white nationalist links. For example, according to the FBI, one attack in Washington state on Christmas seems to have been meant to knock out power so the perpetrators could commit a robbery. And not every investigation is complete. But there's been enough of a pattern over the past few years for federal officials to take notice. In June of 2020, 3 men claiming to be members of the far-right Boogaloo movement allegedly planned to attack a power substation to incite violence during Black Lives Matter protests. In August of 2021, 4 neo-Nazis in North Carolina were charged with planning to take down a substation to create chaos as a cover for assassinations and other operations. In February of 2022, 3 white supremacists pled guilty in Ohio for plotting to knock out the U.S. power grid and cause a panic that could set off a race war.
There are many other reasons why people might attack substations or why there might be power failures that aren't related to extremist groups. But that said, there have been arrests for people who came close to pulling these things off from the white supremacist movement.
Heidi Beirich has been a long-time extremism analyst and expert, and she points out infrastructure has been a popular target for decades.
The sort of dream of taking down the electric grid or blowing up a nuclear facility to sow chaos so that you can launch a race war or engage in other activities has been the thinking for a long time. The program on extremism at George Washington University looked at Islamic extremist attacks on infrastructure versus white supremacists and found that white supremacists keyed in more on the grid and electricity than Islamic extremists who are more interested in things like destroying public transportation systems.
You don't have to dig too deep to find connections in white supremacist source material either. The white supremacist novel The Turner Diaries is often cited as a manual of operations for many white power groups. In a report, the Department of Homeland Security found it's also been used as a rough blueprint for attacking government infrastructure, like in the energy sector. It even depicts an assault on the Capitol and was removed off sites like Amazon after the January 6th insurrection. Aside from some ideological patterns, there's another thread seen through most of the attacks. A common refrain from security and energy experts and government officials is that attackers seem to know what they're doing. Let's look at the December 6th attack in North Carolina as an example. The gunman knew that substation would knock out power lines for a particular county. They were effective too. It left about 32,000 customers without power or heat, with the county declaring a state of emergency and curfew. According to one former government official, the gunman also seemed to know where to access the site and what to shoot at, where no security was in place. As of now, the investigation is still ongoing, so the motive hasn't been confirmed and no arrests have been made.
The internet allows you to share materials like how to build a bomb, how to blow up a power station, how to use a rifle to disarm a substation. Because we haven't done as much infiltrating and undercover work and monitoring of social media, which the federal government should be doing, we're behind the 8 ball on dealing with this threat.
There's still a lot of speculation around these attacks, and despite some patterns, there's a lot we still don't know about who's behind them. But one thing most can agree on is that these attacks highlight the U.S. power grid as an attractive target.
We spend a lot of money fighting terrorism, right, of various kinds. You'd think that we would put the money up to make sure that this nation's water supplies, gasoline delivery systems, electrical grid, etc., are functioning. It makes no sense not to protect those systems.
Well, this all looks pretty sweet.